Mary, it's all
Great.
yours.
Perfect. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Mary Rooney. I am on the board of directors of our co-op and just wanted to welcome you all to our annual meeting virtually again this year. And we're very happy that you're all here. So I can see right now we've got 25 people online and we're pleased to see that. So we've got a full agenda tonight and on this beautiful day, and as we were talking earlier, a beautiful night with that gorgeous full moon. So we're pleased to have you here on this day. It's an important year for all of us with the co-op. This is the 50th anniversary of the co-op, which will be celebrated in August this year. So something I think we're all very proud of. And we've got a full agenda for tonight, and we hope you'll be actively engaged, and we'll have an opportunity for Q&A as we go through. So Ray will be introducing our guest speaker, which we're very honored to have Dr. Orrin Hesterman here with us tonight, and Ray will give an introduction. So we're very pleased to have him involved in our meeting this evening to talk about his work and some of the connections that we have. So, and Ray, if you don't mind, if you wouldn't mind putting the agenda up, and I'll just show people what we have on schedule for this evening.
Will do.
So in a moment, I'll kick it off with an introduction of our PFC current board members, which is the first thing on the agenda, and a hearty welcome to all of our members and our guests that are here tonight for the meeting. Then Ray is going to introduce Dr. Orrin Hesterman, and he will share his presentation. And then we will have a Q&A after Dr. Hesterman's presentation, which will be focused on his actual presentation. As I'll mention in a moment, we'll have another Q&A later on. Then we're going to go into our linkage committee report, and Ray Anderson will be sharing that linkage committee report. Ray is our vice president. And then Hannah Davis will be sharing the treasurer's report. And then Angie Voles will do our general manager report. And then Jamie will do our president's report. Then we'll open it up to member Q&A questions on those particular topics. We did have a member request for a specific agenda item, and that was from Gaia Kyle. And that will immediately follow the member questions, and Q&A will be handled after that also. Then our meeting will adjourn. The process is we're going to keep everyone on mute for the questions, or excuse me, for the presentations. And Hannah is graciously going to monitor the chat. So if you'd like to put something in the chat as we go along, we'll keep track of those questions and share them during the Q&A, and I'll share a reminder of that when we get to that. So that is our agenda for today. So I would just like to kick it off with an introduction of the our board here tonight, and I'm going to ask all of you to wave and say hello. So we'll start off with Angie, who is our general manager.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Angie Voiles, and I'm the general manager. And as such, I am not a board member, but work very closely with the board.
Great. And then we'll move on to Jamie, who is the president of our board.
Hi, my name is Jamie McGarrett, and I'm the president of the board of directors and a co-op member since I think 1995 or so.
Great, thanks. And then Ray, who I mentioned before. Ray?
Hi, I'm Ray Anderson, currently serving as the vice president of the board of directors. I've been a co-op member, you can tell by my hair, for a little while. But thank you for coming tonight.
Great. Then we'll turn it to Hannah Davis.
Hi, I'm Hannah Davis. I'm the treasurer for the board.
Great. And then we'll turn it to familiar face for anyone who's shopping, Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm the secretary of the board and staff member.
Great. And then we'll go to our two newest members we're very pleased to have, Victoria.
Hey, I'm just a regular old board member. My name's Victoria.
And then we'll move on to Pat.
Hi, I'm Pat Zabawa, likewise with Victoria, new board member, joined a year ago.
Great. And as I mentioned, I'm Mary Rooney, and I'll just be facilitating our meeting agenda for today. So without any further ado, we'll move on to Ray, who's going to give an introduction of Dr. Hesterman and his presentation.
Good evening, everybody. So nice to see you all here. And on behalf of the People's Food Linkage Committee, we welcome all of you who have joined us tonight, and to all our members who care deeply about what we hold dear as our food cooperative. The Linkage Committee is honored to present our guest speaker tonight, Dr. Orrin Hesterman. Dr. Hesterman is a nationally known sustainable agriculture and food systems leader and activist. He brings more than 35 years of experience as a scientist, farmer, philanthropist, businessman, educator, and passionate advocate for good food for all. He currently serves as a CEO for the Ann Arbor-based national nonprofit Fair Food Network, whose healthy food incentive program, Double Up Food Bucks, which you probably have heard about when you've walked through the co-op, signs are all over the place, helps families experiencing poverty bring home more healthy, fresh food while supporting local farmers and stakeholder community-centered food co-ops like PFC. Dr. Hesterman is committed to all things local, and his efforts are exemplary in building strength in local food systems and economic independence. Please welcome tonight, Dr. Orrin Hesterman. Dr. Hesterman?
Ray, thank you very much. It's great to be with you this evening. What Ray did not say to you is that it was about 20 years ago when I moved to Ann Arbor that I became a member of the People's Food Co-op. So I am a longtime member of the institution and a regular shopper at the food co-op. So I am now going to share my screen with you. And I'm going to use some of these slides as I go through my presentation this evening. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you at your meeting. I think all of us realize we are living right now at a really a time of unprecedented confluence of events. The health crisis, you know, the COVID-19 pandemic that is here, along with an economic recession that has hit every sector of our economy and has hit our food sector and agriculture sector in very strange ways at different times. But we're also living in the middle of a racial justice awakening in this country among not all of us, but among many of us in new ways. And in this unpredictable and unprecedented time, we find that the issue of food is often at the center of news we hear and read about and conversations we're in. Food has really been a constant over this last year or so. You know, ever since we saw these images at the early stage of the pandemic, these twin images of fresh vegetables getting plowed up in fields because they couldn't get harvested, and fresh milk getting dumped down drains at dairies. At the same time, there were lines at food banks and food disappearing off of store shelves, and many local food businesses really struggling. We've seen all of these kinds of issues happen. And for that reason and many more, we at Fair Food Network, and I believe that food really exists at the center of a lot of what we do and need to consider. So we're just going to start with a little video that we put together at Fair Food Network when to answer the question for ourselves and for others, why food? Why do we focus on food? So as the video said, at Fair Food Network, we really believe good food can change everything. And when we started Fair Food Network back in 2009, we started with a mission to grow community health and wealth through food. We started Fair Food Network back in 2009. I'm going to talk in a minute about our Double Up Food Bucks program. We started with a headquarters in Ann Arbor. Even though we have now grown into a national nonprofit organization with programs in many states across the country, we still remain headquartered in Ann Arbor. We are rooted right here in the community. Since 2009, Fair Food Network has grown largely due to the Double Up Food Bucks program. This is a program that was forged during the Great Recession in 2009. It has now grown across Michigan and into a national model of healthy food, what we call healthy food incentive or nutrition incentives. Double Up Food Bucks is both an intervention that assists people experiencing poverty today to help them access more affordable, healthy food, but it also is a lever for the systems change that we need in our food system, for healthier eating, for more support of local farmers and local production, for keeping more of our food dollars in our local economy, all the kinds of things that the co-op stands for as well. But Double Up Food Bucks is not all that we do. It's a very important, and we call it our signature program. But along the way, we also started something called the Fair Food Fund, which we call our impact investing arm. And through the Fair Food Fund, we are reimagining how integrated capital in communities, financial, social, intellectual, political capital can come together so food entrepreneurs can be the engine of a more equitable future. And we are supporting many food entrepreneurs, both throughout Michigan with the Michigan Good Food Fund. The Fair Food Fund is operating in Camden, New Jersey, and in the New England area in Massachusetts and Maine. So with that sort of place-based approach to integrating capital and technical assistance, we are supporting many entrepreneurs in what we call good food businesses. And through these two lines of our work, we like to think of ourselves as an organization that can both have immediate impact for farmers, for families, for entrepreneurs, but also in a way that is leading to systems change in the food system towards a system that's more equitable, more just, more sustainable for the future. And along the way, we really believe in the power of grocery, and we are committed to assisting groups and leaders form new kinds of models for grocery in the field. So I think of a project that we are supporting with our Fair Food Fund and Double Up. We're called Daily Table in Dorchester and Roxbury, Massachusetts, in Boston. I don't know if any of you have heard of that model, but it's a quite interesting model. It's a grocery store set up as a nonprofit organization that is bringing in food that is either at or close to its sell-by date. They have a commissary set up where they're creating jobs for local residents, creating ready-to-eat meals, salads, these kinds of things that they are selling at a very affordable price point to the community, and having double up food bucks right alongside of it. It's quite a successful model, bringing affordable, healthy food to a community that had lost all of its major grocery chains. And then something closer to home, working in North Flint with Pastor Reggie Flynn, who you see here. And he's standing right now on a site that we're hopeful by the end of the summer will be breaking ground for a brand new community-owned cooperative grocery store in North Flint. When Pastor Flynn helped organize many of the members of the faith-based communities in North Flint, which has no grocery stores, when he organized them in response to the Flint water crisis, and we're asking what do you need most? The answer they got was, we need a grocery store. We need somewhere where we can access healthy food. And they decided, rather than try to attract a Kroger's or a Myers or some other store back into their neighborhood, they were going to try to invest themselves into a community-owned, community-operated cooperative grocery store. And we've been doing all we can to support this. So if all goes well, People's Food Co-op is going to have a sister co-op in North Flint not too long from now. And the question always comes, I know that you all think of this a lot, and so do we, is what does it take for a grocery store to thrive? And it takes a lot of work that all of you do. But we believe that a program like Double Up Food Bucks can be part of the equation, especially in a community like North Flint. And the way the Double Up Food Bucks program works is that anybody comes to either a participating farmer's market or retail grocery store and purchases fresh produce with their EBT card using SNAP, they can earn an equivalent amount of Double Up Food Bucks and spend those Double Up Food Bucks on additional fresh produce. So you spend $20 of your SNAP money on produce, you can go home with $40 worth of fresh produce at a farmer's market or at a grocery store. And we believe that Double Up Food Bucks, what we call a win-win-win solution, really is aligned with the values that the co-op has and the focus in community that the co-op has. And in fact, there are 8 participating sites throughout the state of Michigan right now that are food co-ops that are participating in the Double Up Food Bucks program. And there was close to, in 2020, close to $100,000 spent for Double Up Food Bucks at co-ops. We say it's a win-win-win because it helps families bring home more healthy food, while those same dollars go to support local farmers and keep the food dollars in the local economy to create jobs and economic activity. Now, Double Up Food Bucks started in Detroit at Detroit Eastern Market and a couple of other farmers markets in Detroit back in 2009. Since then, it has grown into a statewide program in Michigan. Last year, there were almost 250 sites throughout Michigan. About 200,000 households benefited from the program, and 94% of the residents of Michigan live in a county where there's at least one site for Double Up Food Bucks. We say that this program has really been a quantifiable success, that we can measure the number of Double Up sites, we can measure the qualifying SNAP sales on fresh produce and the Double Up sales. And there's been a steady growth of the program since it started in 2009. You can see in 2017, there was a big jump in the program as we brought on many more grocery stores. As you saw from 2015 to 2017, you can see we added over 100 new sites. But this last year has been quite a year for Fair Food Network, along with many other organizations, that actually with a fewer sites in 2020 than 2019, we close to doubled our business in Double Up Food Bucks because of the pandemic, because of the unprecedented increase in unemployment because of the pandemic, the rise in the number of households receiving SNAP dollars, and thus the amount of SNAP dollars circulating the economy and the use of the Double Up program. So it's been a real job in the last year for us to really figure out how to absorb that kind of increase in demand for Double Up food bucks. But I'm happy to say we have a great staff at Fair Food Network, and we have great funders supporting this program. So we've been able to keep up with it so far. Since 2009, as we look at our program, we've been able to help Michigan families get 18 million additional pounds of healthy food, that is fruits and vegetables, with about $28 million moving through the system, benefiting Michigan farmers and businesses. But it's not only in Michigan. We have seen the Double Up Food Bucks program grow to nearly 30 states with almost 1,000 sites and about $51 million of combined SNAP and Double Up sales since 2009. And so some of the states you see here, the ones in blue, are states that actually have Double Up Food Bucks programs. The other states that you see in brown are states that we have helped organizations with other kinds of programs, what we call healthy food incentive programs. It's this track record of success and impact for families and farmers that helped inspire federal support for nutrition incentives with the SNAP program. In fact, with the leadership of our own Senator Debbie Stabenow, when the 2014 Farm Bill was signed into law, and that was actually signed into law in Michigan by President Obama, there was a brand new program called the Food Insecurity Nutrition Incentive, or FINI program, with $100 million of federal money over 5 years to support incentive programs like Double Up Food Bucks. And that $100 million had to be matched with an equivalent amount of non-federal money. So in the 5 years of the Farm Bill, 2014 to 2019, there was about $200 million that were being used throughout the country on nutrition incentive programs like Double Up Food Bucks. And when the 2018 Farm Bill was signed by President Trump, it was renamed the Gus Schumacher Nutrition Incentive Program after a former Undersecretary of Agriculture who was very supportive of these programs. And they increased the amount of federal dollars to $250 million over 5 years and created a national center for evaluation and training and technical assistance. Something that I think is really significant about this policy work is that in both 2014 and 2018, we got strong bipartisan support for both of these initiatives in the farm bills. And as most of you probably know, to find anything where you can get strong bipartisan support these days is damn near a miracle. But it shows that, you know, the importance that this kind of work can have when you can demonstrate it's a win for families, it's a win for farmers, and for the local economy all at the same time. So at Fair Food Network, in our home state of Michigan, it is still our flagship program, and we call it our proving ground for innovation and impact. We innovate with technology. We work with various kind of grocery stores more intensively in Michigan than anywhere else. And we also, this is the place where we do the most intensive local sourcing for Double Up Food Bucks. And I can talk a little bit about that if any of you are interested. Across the country, we are applying our on-the-ground experience so others can hit the ground running with their programs. We assist programs across the country. And the way we do that is with what we now call the Nutrition Incentive Hub. You heard me a minute ago talk about how when the 2018 Farm Bill was passed, it included funding for a new center for evaluation, training, and technical assistance for nutrition incentive programs. Fair Food Network was fortunate enough to be designated by the USDA in a collaboration with the Gretchen Swanson Center for Nutrition to be the hub for nutrition incentive and produce prescription projects. So we now have a whole staff headquartered in Ann Arbor working with organizations all over the country that are now putting these kinds of programs on the ground. We started Double Up Food Bucks at the People's Food Co-op there in Ann Arbor in just last September in 2020. And we're really proud to be partnering with the People's Food Co-op on this program and hope to see it grow to keep this partnership going. You know, while you could hear a lot from me about this. So now I'm seeing Ray, I'm trying to get this. Okay, we're gonna get this video working. Great.
Is different.
You can hear also
Can't
from
give up.
from those
You
who
got
are
to
using
figure it
the
out.
program.
I mean, that's what life's about. You got to figure out how to make things work. You know, I'm a single mother. You know, I'm working 2 jobs and it's just not enough. And I have to use SNAP to, you know, make it through each month and make sure my kids are fed. Also, trying to eat healthy is expensive.
I was a stay-at-home dad for 7 years, and then eventually I found myself suddenly single, and I needed to find work, and so it was kind of a scary time in my life. I found these jobs that I have now, and at first I applied for SNAP benefits, and that made a huge difference. It was a huge relief to have some assistance every month. Double Up Food Bucks enables me to buy the fruits and vegetables I wouldn't be able to afford without it.
You get more for your money and it's healthier, knowing that you got Double Up Food Bucks and hey, you spend $2, you can get $2 more. Hey, I got more fresh vegetables.
The produce section is where I want to go for my kids. I'm able to buy more fruits and vegetables because they're affordable, you know, they're twice as affordable. Eating healthy is very important to me, and especially feeding my kids fresh food. I'd much rather buy local produce, and this makes that possible.
I'm just always focused on my kids, trying to be the best mom. And having the fresh fruits and vegetables to double up what I'm getting is awesome.
So I just want to end my presentation after hearing from some of the folks who use the Double Up program. I just want to end by thanking you all for being our partner with the Double Up Food Bucks program at the People's Food Co-op in Ann Arbor, and express my appreciation for the opportunity to embed our organization in such a wonderful community, such a supportive community as we work across the state and across the country. And with that, Ray, I will turn it back to you to see if we have any questions.
Oh, let's see. Am I muted?
No, I can hear you.
Thanks. Yeah, that was an amazing presentation, Dr. Hesterman. And it's time for questions for Dr. Hesterman. If you look at the bottom of the Zoom page, you'll see a little reactions icon. And if you click on that, there is a raise hand option there, or you can also put your questions in the chat. Hannah is monitoring the chat for us. So any questions, feel free to raise your hand or put your questions in the chat. Tom is asking, what wonderful work. Is there any more information on supporting the North Foot effort?
Yeah, I mean, lots of information depending on what you're interested in. You know, there's lots of ways to support it. I'm not only a member of the People's Food Co-op in Ann Arbor, I am also a member of the Food Co-op in North Flint. So, you know, I decided to get a membership there to help support that operation to get off the ground. Depending, Tom, on what interest you have for support, I could connect you in, whether it's expertise you might have or whether you want to offer some financial support. If you can let me know, you know, what it is, I can definitely connect you with the folks in Flint who would be happy to chat with you about it.
Okay, Susan is asking, great presentation. So does that mean that the match for Double Up Food Bucks comes from federal dollars through the Farm Bill?
Half of the match does. So, you know, when we write our grant proposals to USDA to get the funding for Double Up Food Bucks, we have to have an equivalent amount of non-federal money. So the way it looks right now is, you know, out of every dollar that goes to supporting the Double Up Food Bucks program, 50 cents of that would come from the federal government. About 25 cents now comes from state government, and about 25 cents comes from philanthropy, from private donors and foundations. So that's kind of roughly how it's set up now.
Barbara is asking or saying, thank you for this information. I've starting to see signs at the co-op and was wondering what it is about.
And I would love to encourage you all, like anybody you know who shops with an EBT card, who you know, has SNAP benefits, really encourage them to come to the co-op. It's one of the few grocery stores in Ann Arbor where they can come and use that Double Up benefit. They can double the amount of produce they buy, or basically cut the cost in half. And it also really gives you folks at the food co-op and, you know, an advantage over other grocery stores. I mean, why would someone shop at the co-op instead of a Foods or a Plum Market? Well, one reason is because there's Double Up Food Bucks there, and they can get more affordable produce at the co-op.
Thank you. Michael is asking, do the grocery stores or market vendors also contribute anything to the Double Up program?
What the grocery stores contribute is, of course, I mean, it's really the cashiers that are the sort of point of contact with customers. You all know that at the food co-op. So the more that grocery stores can help prepare their cashiers, train them to be able to, you know, if they see somebody shopping with an EBT card, with a bridge card, to let them know about Double Up. But also there are some grocery stores that have also invested in updating and upgrading their point of sale systems to integrate the Double Up Food Bucks program with their point of sale. So there are different ways that they're contributing to the program.
Don't see any hands up. Any other questions? Susan, does People's Food Co-op have data on how much EBT Double Up Bucks came in from this program? I guess that's an Angie question and not a, I'm not sure if you can answer that, Dr. Hesterman.
Actually, I believe I can.
Oh, excellent.
We looked that up, and I would say that you're off to a modest but good start with the program. I think there's been about $800 of Double Up Food Bucks redeemed so far at the People's Food Co-op, which means that would have been triggered by an equivalent amount of SNAP sales. So about $1,600 of business overall since we started there in September of 2020. You know, it's a tough time to start a program like this too, as we all know. You know, not everybody is running to go inside and shop at grocery stores right now. But I think there's a lot of potential as we come out of the pandemic and as more people, seek to get that in-person experience.
Okay, Barbara is asking, is there any connection with Gleaners in Detroit?
Yeah, the Gleaners Food Bank actually is a strong partner of ours in the program. And I saw someone else asked about, how do we get the word out? The Gleaners Food Bank has been really a powerful place to get information out about Double Up Food Bucks, because oftentimes the clientele at the food bank will be similar to the clientele that would have SNAP benefits. There's a lot of overlap there. So food banks around the state and indeed around the country have been really important partners for this program.
Mary is asking, are there any ways we can help people who are eligible know they can use this benefit at PFC?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we do what we can in terms of communication. At times we've done direct mail to low-income households. We have lots of information. I mean, if you ever can use brochures that we, just one pagers that we put out in multiple languages, let me know and we can get these to you. We would love to think together with you about creative ways to reach those who are eligible for Double Up and let them know about it.
Excellent. Dr. Hessman from Joanne, thank you for your presentation. Do you think that the Double Up program will continue to grow, or are there other projects that will take the focus of Fair Food Network? How has the pandemic impacted the need?
Yeah, I can tell you the pandemic has had an impact that nobody was expecting at all. I mean, between 2019 and 2020, we doubled the amount of Double Up Food Bucks flowing through the system in Michigan. In fact, there were months in 2020, May, June, July, August, where we saw a 20% increase in Double Up use per month. Each month, 20% more than the last month. Okay. We have no intention of slowing down or stopping the program at all. We think this is an idea whose time has come. That, as much as $250 million in a farm bill sounds, SNAP right now is a program that's close to $80 billion a year. So $80 billion a year. We spend more on SNAP and food assistance than we do on any other single item in our food and agriculture system by a long shot. About 80% of all of the money we spend as a federal government on food and agriculture goes into food assistance, most of it into SNAP. So, what I dream about is, what if you had 10% of those dollars going to support healthier eating and local farmers? That would be $8 billion a year. More than any of us have ever imagined going into healthier eating and supporting local farmers. So we dream big. I like to tell my staff, we should plan for wild success. And so we're not going to stop. We're going to keep pushing this as far as we can, and are already working with Senator Stabenow and others on seeing how far we can move the next farm bill.
Alan is asking, how does one get a bridge card and what are the conditions?
So Alan, the eligibility for the bridge card is solely based on income. I don't have the exact numbers right now, but the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services will have the specific numbers on, I think it's something like 120% of the federal poverty level or something for a family. And it changes based on the number of dependents in the family. But it's a program solely based on income. If your income is at a certain level or below, you qualify for SNAP benefits and you can receive a bridge card.
Okay, we have a comment from the floor manager at the co-op. I just want to thank Dr. Hesterman and the Fair Food Network for helping us increase the buying power of individuals and families dependent on EBT SNAP. I was dependent on food stamps myself until I started my career at the co-op, and it's a great feeling getting to help low-income folks get more food from their often fluctuating EBT benefits.
Oh, thank you for that comment. Thank you very much. When I hear comments like that, I know that all of the work we put into this is worth it.
Okay, I'm searching for hands up or other comments or questions in the chat. I see none at this point in time. I want to thank you, Dr. Hestman, for joining us tonight. We are so supportive of the work of Fair Food Network. I see a hand up. Yes, Tom.
That's a clap.
Oh, it's a clap. Sorry.
Thank you, Tom. And I just want to let you know, I have your email address, so I'll be getting in touch with you.
I just got another message in the chat. Please speak on land sovereignty as the key to food sovereignty, especially with the debt load.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the issue of food sovereignty is, you know, you can trace that back in many ways, but you know, at the end of the day, you need to have control of land. You know, you need soil, you need water, you need sunshine to be able to grow food. So, you know, I can just let you know about one other initiative we're involved with an organization called the Black Farmers Fund, which is a new fund that is working in New York right now to create greater access to farmland for African-American farmers. We know that the acreage of farmland owned and operated by African-American families has gone from, you know, 14% 100 years ago, 14% of all the farmland in the country to less than 1.4% now. And a lot of that has been due to systematic discrimination by U.S. Department of Agriculture and others in terms of being able to finance the operation of these farms. So, you know, it's an issue that we know about, we care about, and, you know, while it's not at the center of our work at Fair Food Network, it's something that as we have capacity and experience to land, we do what we can. You know, I can also mention that if you want to read more about that and other of these topics, I am also a published author. I wrote a book called Fair Food: Growing a Healthy, Sustainable Food System for All. And so, you know, I write in there about this issue of African-American land loss and some of what's being done about it.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Hesterman, for joining us tonight. And on behalf of all of us who I'm sure we can all join in by saying thank you for your all the good work you do.
Thank you very much. Really such a pleasure to be with you all tonight. And I wish you well with your meeting, and I wish great success for the store that I own a little part of there, downtown Ann Arbor.
Excellent.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. And I echo everything Ray has said. That was a powerful and inspiring and informative conversation. I think we all really benefited from that and from this incredible work that Dr. Hesterman and Fair Food Network are doing. So thank you. And now we are going to move to Ray. Ray is, as the Vice President, is the chair of the Linkage Committee, and Ray is going to share our Linkage Committee report. So,
thank you, Barry. I am going to open my share screen so that I can get to my presentation. Just one moment, please. That's not it. Sorry. Technical difficulties. I knew it would happen. Sorry, everybody. Let's stop this. I lost it. There it is. No, that's not it.
As we're waiting, it's nice to see so many people here. I think everyone can see we've got 37 people who have joined us, which is a real treat. And if you go on gallery view, you can take a look at all the attendees that are here. So we're very pleased that everybody is here.
Okay. Go back. Sorry. Okay. I just need to share my screen. Sorry, I found my presentation. I lost it while I was going to a different page. So
We're patient people, Ray.
So okay. Thank you for your patience. I have to admit that I am not the most skilled at this platform. So okay, welcome tonight to all of you again. My name again is Ray Anderson. I'm chair of the Linkage Committee, and I wanted to update you on the work that we have been doing over the past year. And the topics I'll be hitting are setting up the election and the annual meeting, the Change for Community program, which we've been working with the store on, and the 50th anniversary. Long about January, we at the Linkage Committee, along with the Nominations Committee, started the getting the word out about the People's Food Co-op Board of Directors election. This is the graphic that we put together, and we sent this out many times to members. It was also included in our Small Bites newsletter that goes out weekly. And we unfortunately got very little response. We had 2 candidates that applied, and we were hoping for a minimum of 4 in the election cycle this year for the 3 open board seats. We decided as a board that we could not run the election, and so you didn't see that come out in our election newsletter this year. We also worked on tonight's program, in which we hosted Dr. Hesterman, and I hope you all enjoyed that presentation, and stay tuned for the business section of the annual meeting. I wanted to point out the work that we've done with the Change for Community. The first thing that I want to point out is the Change for Community program has had an incredible response. In 2020, in spite of the pandemic, we raised a total of $21,451 to go to these nonprofits. Meanwhile, the Linkage Committee organized virtual conversations with the recipients. We held several virtual conversations over this last year, 2020, and also in the year 2021. And these are the recipients of this year's Change for Community. So in total, the program has raised for nonprofits $25,000. The Linkage Committee has really expanded the reach of the co-op in terms of education and hosting these virtual conversations and learning about some amazing nonprofits. I want to point out our April recipient is the Fair Food Network, and the Linkage Committee has asked that we hold over the Fair Food Network as the May recipient because of the amazing work that they do and our partnership in the store through the Double Up food program. We have also been working with the staff on the 50th anniversary. Those of you who have been around the co-op for a while, like myself, will recognize this storefront, the original storefront on Packard Avenue. It just brings to mind our history, which is an amazingly rich history. And we as a Linkage Committee have been trying to figure out how we can celebrate this during a pandemic. We have a lot of ideas, but are honestly unable to make solid plans with the ongoing limits that are in place and the threat of any super spreader event that we could host. So right now we are hoping to combine with the Member Appreciation Weekend in October at the store for some kind of celebration, and we'll see how that goes. One initiative that is virtual, though, is this Tell Us Your Story initiative, which we have embarked on in the Linkage Committee. And we're asking you, if you have a story, include a picture of yourself, send us an audio file, or capture your story on camera. And we'll share it out. If you keep it short, we can share it out, if you approve, through social media. We can spread the word of our rich history. And I know that there are a lot of stories out there that people can tell. So if you wanna, it's time, if you haven't gotten involved in the co-op, it's time to get involved. We need help. We need a lot of help. And the Linkage Committee would be a good place to start. And if you're interested, email me at vicepresident@People's Food Co-op. Thank you very much. And I'll turn this back over to Mary.
Great, thanks, Ray. Now we're going to move on to our treasurer's report. So Hannah Davis is going to share the treasurer's report with us.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. Welcome. It's a lovely day. Hope everybody got some sun today. So yeah, like I said when I introduced myself earlier, I'm Hannah Davis. I've been the board treasurer of the PFC for 2 years now. It's certainly been an interesting time to be a board member. You know, we'll go into a little more detail during the general managers and the president's report, but it's, you know, we're having some financial difficulties as a co-op. But I'm here to present the treasurer's report. So just as a brief overview, the treasurer has the responsibility to write and manage the board budget, which is a much smaller proportion of the co-op's budget as a whole. And then also, like I'm doing right here, to report on the co-op finances in concert with the general manager at the annual meeting. So this has obviously been an incredibly stressful year for everybody and for the co-op. And it's come on the heels of many years of struggle for the store overall. Nevertheless, we did start the year with optimism. So we as a board and with Angie, the general manager, have been putting in tons of effort in developing a multi-year plan for returning the co-op to a state of profitability. Angie and the co-op staff had been retooling store operations with the goal of hitting our margin and profit goals and, you know, making money. So, you know, and it was looking good. And in the first quarter, our sales growth was up about 0.7% over the previous year, which is not huge, obviously, but it was a good sign because we'd been seeing negative sales growth for the last several years. You can track that back through our last several years of annual reports. And then the pandemic hit. And so, you know, we've been dealing with lockdowns, capacity limits in the store, the cafe and the hot bar closing, you know, temporarily to deal with the safety regulations. And all of that resulted in our customer count decreasing quite a bit. This has been reflected in grocery store trends nationwide. They've all been experiencing the same thing, but as a smaller business, it's definitely a lot harder to absorb those blows. On the positive side, we've been helped over the past year in large part by the federal government's small business supports through the PPP loan. And it looks like that loan should be forgiven, which is fantastic news. And our projected losses from the year are going to be offset. Amazingly enough, our loss for 2020 came to negative $158, and that's just dollars, so almost exactly breaking even. We're also still in a very healthy position regarding cash in hand with the help of the PPP loan and also increased equity from the new members who have joined over the last year. Thank you and welcome if any of you have just joined. So our cash on hand increased from about $291,000 in 2019 to $557,000 in 2020. So that's great news. That means we have more of a runway, you know, in terms of turning the store around. So we do still have a long way to go to get to profitability. And it's hard to, you know, I'm a pretty optimistic person myself. It is definitely hard to, you know, to be able to come in and say, yeah, we're doing great, because like I said, we have a long way to go. But I'm taking comfort in the fact that this year could have been a lot worse. And then, you know, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that our general manager and the PFC staff have been working so hard in the last year to keep the co-op running and to keep themselves and customers safe. And I just want to call that out. I really appreciate all the effort you've gone to. It doesn't go unnoticed, you know, with the work on getting the Double Up food books program started, getting the online ordering system off the ground in very quickly right after the lockdown started, and pivoting into the newer system that we have on Mercado, where you can look at all the stock that's in the store and order from there. It's been awesome to see. And, you know, I was just talking to all these details about the financials. The financial reports will be available in more detail in our annual report, which will be should be available on our website tomorrow. So you can look those over in more detail. And again, thank you all, as always, for your support and for shopping at the co-op and being members and you know, patronizing the place. That co-op wouldn't exist without its members and its customers. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much, Hannah. That was very helpful. And as Hannah mentioned, that report will be available, and Ray mentioned in the chat that it will be sent out to members tomorrow via email, but anyone will be able to access it on the site, as Hannah noted. So thank you, Hannah. Next, we're going to move on to the general manager's report. So I'm going to turn it over to Angie.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Mary. Much of my 2020 report will echo what Hannah was saying, but to give a little context going into 2020, as Hannah mentioned, PFC has had a negative net income for a number of years. And we've been very focused on the operation side and turning that around and, rebuilding our cash, re-strengthening our co-op from a financial perspective. And, in 2019, we actually did some fantastic work, saw some great strides in key areas, most notably our declining sales, which again had been an issue for a number of years. That decline was starting to level off. Starting to see our margin inch closer and closer to the target. And we actually were able to work within our labor budget instead of exceeding our labor dollars as we had in many years previous. So we were headed in a great direction. And in fact, the fourth quarter of 2019 was one of our smallest quarterly losses in years. As Hannah mentioned, we charged optimistically into 2020. And again, we're seeing some really promising financial results. Then the pandemic and subsequent health orders and safety precautions were put into effect. And as a very small format store, that made a lot of things very quickly difficult because our focus was absolutely on keeping our staff and customers safe. In addition, of course, to adhering to those health orders. So we have very severely restricted the number of customers that come into the store, and the hot bar and salad bar and soup buffet style dining was shuttered. And previous to the pandemic, the hot bar and salad bar had been about 20% of whole store sales. So less customers in the store. The automatic loss of that 20% of income made an already difficult equation to balance even more difficult. Additionally, as many of you I'm sure know, but I think it bears mentioning, there was massive supply chain disruption, which made sourcing, especially for fresh departments, produce, dairy, et cetera, very difficult. And then all the key commodity items that we've all seen pictures or perhaps saw the shelves in stores in person were wiped clean. Everything from baking yeast to toilet paper was incredibly difficult to get a hold of, and still many items are difficult to source even a year later. Additionally, almost overnight, the entire nation, pretty much without exception, changed their shopping pattern. People who were going in store to shop were suddenly visiting stores much less frequently and buying much more in these infrequent trips. I think there are many things to love about our current location. For folks who drive, parking is not one of the things to love. And so for those big shopping trips, we definitely did see some folks that were making the choice to do those big trips at PFC. But I think many people chose places that were easier to access by car for those bigger trips. So, 1 year in the pandemic, like I said, many of the circumstances that made 2020 financially challenging are still in place. So I am working and planning with PFC staff and with the board about how we can still have some profitability despite these many challenges. There are some answers on the store side, certainly. Merchandising, margin work, continuing to control what expenses we can. But the main metric that needs to shift for PFC to be profitable is on the income side, sales. It's the support of our community made up of shoppers and members to choose to bring those dollars to PFC or maybe bring a couple more dollars than they currently are to PFC that is the key driver, and that's the element that we really need all of your support and all of the community support to have a positive outcome for PFC. With all these years of loss, we are getting in an increasingly difficult financial position, and that absolutely needs to be stabilized and turned around, not 5 years from now or 10 years from now, but this year and next year. And so that is the focus of my work. And I hope you'll all join me in, continuing to support PFC with our shopping dollars as well. So before I turn it back over to Mary, I would like to end with a very heartfelt thanks. A huge thanks to PFC staff that have just been fantastic and resilient and such rocks all the time, but especially during this very difficult past year. And of course, to our membership, to folks who've chosen to make an investment in a lot of different levels in a local business they believe in. We own this store together, and I think that's incredibly powerful. And last but certainly not least, to our shoppers and to our community who support us as well. And I look forward to coming together as one group to really help PFC grow and thrive. So thank you for coming tonight. And Mary, I'll let you take it back over.
Great. Thank you so much, Angie. And not only a huge thanks to all the staff at the PFC, but a huge thanks to you for your resilience and your leadership during an extremely challenging time, which you always did with a positive attitude, a smile, and with perseverance. So we genuinely really appreciate you. So thank you. I also I didn't notice that Rosie was on the line before, but I can see her big R, and I wanted to acknowledge that Rosie is our board administrator and makes things run smoothly and is just a critical member of the board. So I wanted to acknowledge Rosie, who's also on the line this evening. So with that, we are going to move to the president's report. And so Jamie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, folks, for joining us today. I do appreciate your engagement. So we actually, looking at the numbers right now, we have 37 people logged in, and that's fantastic. So this year, as you know, there was a lot of significant challenges. The co-op is still struggling due to competition and the physical constraints of the location. So the board had several areas of focus to try to address this head on. First and foremost, the board has been working for some time with the general manager on developing a multi-year plan for short-term financial turnaround and then long-term growth. And that plan is going to require participation of the board and the general manager and the membership, you as well. We're in the process of sort of finalizing those details. We've gone through many iterations to get it right and reached out to a lot of external support for this. And as soon as things are finalized, we'll be reaching out to the membership with the basics of the plan and how members can get involved and support us in this plan. And I am confident that if we have a good plan and it's supported by the members, that we can survive these challenges and thrive into the future. It does mean all of us working together and supporting each other, right? It's the definition of cooperative, right? And sort of to build the foundation for that, as you heard from Ray, the Linkage Committee has been working on reaching out to members. I would encourage folks that have suggestions for ways in which the board and the co-op in general can reach members, inspire members. Please reach out to the Vice President and the Linkage Committee. We are always looking for ways to engage the membership. The membership changes over the years. The membership is perhaps more distributed because of changing different factors in our community. And there's also a shift in communication methods, right? Moving more towards online and email, whereas it used to be written on paper and by phone and in person. Obviously, the pandemic played a big factor in that transition as well. So we need your help in that regard as well. Lastly, through the leadership of Mary, in fact, we've been improving our onboarding process for new board members. And this means that everything from our historical documentation about the history of the board and how it's changed, our documentation on how to gather resources, and also a new system of having board buddies so that there's someone to sort of, that new board members can sort of have a support mechanism. We think that that will help make board service easier and inspire more people to get involved and participate in the board. Because as mentioned, we're short and we need people to help out. In terms of looking ahead for the coming year, the board has several key tasks that are related to this multi-year plan. We're going to be conducting the shopper survey, as you mentioned, which is we're going to be working with the general manager to facilitate a survey of the shoppers to better understand their needs and understand what's the most important to them. What's the most important to you about the co-op? So that as we transition to address the challenges, we try to maintain those core things that people want. We're going to be revisiting our corporate structure. So when the PFC was first incorporated, there were decisions made within the limitations of Michigan corporate law. The options have changed a little bit, and there are also options outside of just Michigan corporate structures. And so we'll be looking at that to try to best leverage our efforts, and also to make sure that members have the most amount of participation and ownership in this. And as I say, location. The board will be supporting the general manager as she investigates options for relocating to a building that will help PFC overcome the limitations of our current space. It's been said for some time now that, and we presented this even back like 2-3 years ago, I think, at an annual meeting, just the challenges of our current space. And it's very difficult. And so part of the multi-year plan is looking at what types of options we have to move to a different space. And this will involve a lot of players and a lot of research. And so it's not something we will do lightly. It's something that we will do when we are sure of the proper path to move forward. And the board does have a lot of work ahead. We are going to approach it with vigor and with focus. And we're all passionate. All of our board members are very passionate. And we're working diligently to help the co-op during these difficult times. A couple things I want to remind folks is there are things that you can do right now in the short term to help the co-op. You can shop at the co-op often. I know that it's easy to go to places that have more available parking, or places that have maybe are larger or have more options. But every time we decide to go shop someplace else, it's taking money out of the bottom line of the co-op. And in some cases, when we start talking about parking and whatnot, it's a trade-off in terms of environmental sustainability, right? And for every parking lot that there is, we're taking away from land for housing, and we're minimizing environmental natural aspects for it, as well as CO2 emissions, et cetera. And tell your friends about the PFC, right? So even with all of the signage and advertising and the long history that we talk about over 50 years, there are still people who don't know about the PFC. They don't know about the values that we represent, and they don't know about co-ops in general and what that even means. So if you can share your story with other people and highlight the benefits of membership and the benefits of a cooperative, then I think we can get more people shopping in the store and more people becoming members. Lastly, volunteering. As mentioned, we need more people to step up to help with our policy governance and our committee work. Participating in the board is a great way to understand how the co-op operates. You get to collaborate with a cross-section of really interesting and amazing people. In the time that I've been on the board, I've just met so many just amazing, interesting people from across the spectrum, and it's helped me grow as a human a lot, actually. It's also a great way to give back to the community, to the co-op, and to the community in which we are in. And if you aren't able to commit the time to board service, or again, our committees like linkage committee, etc., are always looking for help. You can help bring members together through that. You can educate the public on the value of co-ops, and you can recognize members of our community who have done work in the spirit of our shared values. Lastly, I would like to publicly recognize, the board would like to publicly recognize the PFC staff. They have worked tirelessly to keep the co-op running, and in particular to keep it running more and more efficiently. They're always looking at ways in making the co-op run more efficiently and to be more effective as an organization. And the PFC staff have done this a lot just during this time of the pandemic, right? So over the past year, they've dealt with the pandemic and also in trying to facilitate efficiency and effectiveness in the store. You know, when we talk about food, the food network, right, and access to food, PFC staff are a fundamental component of that chain, that supply chain of getting food to people. And so the board profusely thanks the PFC staff and the general manager for all the work that they do. Thank you for listening to what I had to share with you. And you can always email me, president@peoplesfood.coop. And I wish you all good health and well-being. And I'll hand it back to Mary.
Great. Thank you, Jamie. And thank you for your leadership, as the position of president is a big one and we appreciate it. So thank you. So we've got some questions that have come in, so we're going to attend to those. And just a reminder that we do have the one member agenda item that will follow the Q&A. So we'll get that right after the questions. So we've got a few questions that we've seen rolling in, and some of you may have others. So if you do have others, feel free to either physically raise your hand or use the reaction to raise your hand or write it in the chat. So the first question we had, and Hannah's been tracking these, came in from Linda Diane. And I think Ray answered part of it in the chat, but there was another element of that question.
Could you repeat the question?
I got it. I can do it. Yeah. Or so Linda was asking if there was going to be any outreach personally to recruit board members and what the plan was for next year, and then why there wasn't a newsletter.
I'll start backwards, Linda. We are releasing a newsletter as of tomorrow. In the annual report, there'll be a link sent out by email with the annual report, but also a newsletter updating members from each of our perspectives of what has happened in the last year. And hopefully that will answer your questions there. In terms of the board election, that's on linkage, and I'll have to share the blame there. We tried, and maybe it was because of the pandemic, but we were unable to get the number of candidates that we were hoping for. We are reaching out to members with our communications. If they're interested, they can contact us. If they're interested in service on the board, they can contact us. We're hoping to fill positions this year, temporarily perhaps, but maybe long-term, if people are interested, we will have a process of orienting people, interviewing people, getting them into meetings, and whether or not they want to join the board, then we can onboard them if the board votes for that.
What pool do we have of how many members do we have right now to draw from?
There are approximately 2,000 members.
So the audit wasn't done for that because of the election being ended as well.
The audit.
Usually there's an annual audit of membership that's done in association with sending out the newsletter to say there's an election coming.
We've been tracking the membership as a matter of just the, ever since the change in membership fee, we've been tracking the membership every month, the count of members.
So we've lost about 3,000 or 4,000 members.
That's because of the change in membership status.
Right.
Correct.
It's not lost. They're inactive.
Inactive.
And there was a time when we almost lost the election. And I recall making 70 personal phone calls to people looking for a candidate. And it's one of the reasons why we had Rebecca on the board. So it was a great process. Did you do that type of outreach of contacting former board members and personally calling people, or did you just do a push email?
All the board members contacted people. They got back to me anyways and advised me that they had contacted people personally that they knew might be interested. I talked to probably 4 or 5 people that were on the verge of applying and did not apply. So it was, what can I say?
That we'll have to do better next year.
Exactly.
Linda, Diane, if you want to help, that'd be awesome because you know a lot of people.
I don't want to make 70 phone calls again. But yes, I would have liked to have been called on to help if I had any clue that there was a problem. And I think that most past board members would as well. So I don't know if they were specifically asked.
We will definitely reach out to folks as things move forward who are in this meeting now that want to help us out with reaching out to folks. And Linda, Diane, it sounds like you do. So we'll reach out to you for sure.
Yes. Was that, I had a whole bunch of questions. So does that take care of them? I think so. So there were members on the nominations committee itself as well.
Actually not.
There were no members on the nomination committee.
No, it was just board members.
Okay, so that's a problem as well. That committee should contain members.
So I think we're hearing a suggestion that we should take back and address.
Right, and that they should convene now to plan for November rather than wait till the last minute, given that this is going to become a problem again. And Rebecca mentioned in the comments that the bylaw expanding the size of the board should be probably revised as well. And I was also one of the people who said, don't increase the size of the board. Everybody in the world is having trouble getting board members. So
one thing about that I would say though is that we are stretched for work, stretched to be able to get work done. So I don't want to shrink it just I would be hesitant to shrink it or to suggest that we shrink it just because we haven't been able to get the people for it, because the work still needs to get done, right? So I think that we have a couple of different things to look at, and that's a bylaw change, so it actually goes to the membership. So
right.
We would have to actually put that to the membership in either a special election or the next election.
Right.
So there's a lot to talk about between now and then in regards to that. Yeah.
But 7 members did work for 20 some years.
Yeah, and I do want to comment that when you talk about the board load. When I was on the board, we were advised by our, I guess, was it CDC, whatever, the consultant, the co-op consultant, that 7, and I've read this in the literature too, that 7 is the optimum number. And so when the board went to increase it to 9, went against, the best advice on that. So in addition to having problems filling those slots, in my mind, it wasn't the best decision. And as far as workload, work on getting committees and getting members. There's members who want
That's
to get
exactly
more.
what we're doing. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right,
And
but with
Rebecca, if
7
you want to
board
help
members.
out, that would be awesome. We'd love to have your help getting people, if you know folks that would be interested.
Right now, I'm not gonna volunteer to do that, but I'm here at the meeting, giving my 2 cents.
Awesome. Thank you.
Actually, Rebecca, I do want to mention that I think the decision to try to increase the board members to 9 came out of advice from the CDC, our consulting firm. So their line had changed for whatever reason. I think you all might be right that it wasn't a good idea, but I do want to say we weren't just sort of, oh, let's get more board members. It came out of advice.
I would like to acknowledge that we do have someone because we did not have an election, but we do have someone, I won't say them by name at this point, but has expressed a very strong and enthusiastic interest to join the board, but has to go through the appointment process, which would be next month. So I want to acknowledge that individual's enthusiasm, and if we have others that are enthusiastic like that, we welcome hearing from you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Linda Diane.
Thank
But
you.
that- It's key. The membership linkage is key at this point for the co-op to survive. That's my last word on that.
So I see Susan's question about the site space change need. We have a timeline that is in the plan that is getting finalized, actually, and so we'll have a timeline probably, I would say, within the next 2 to 3 months as to this, and we'll be making as much of the timeline public as we can. Obviously, there's some things we have to keep close because of competition in the community with a lot of different stores, but we will have a timeline for folks for a variety of milestones, not just the moving, but also some other things that are happening that I talked about previously, actually, just a bit ago. So look forward to that in the next month or 2, I would say.
Great. Okay, it looks like we have an additional question coming in from Mel. The question is, many of you speak about appreciating PFC staff, but what actions, if any, are taken to show them the thanks in lieu of the annual staff appreciation party? Mel, feel free to speak up if you have anything else you want to add there.
Anything else, Mel? Okay, so in essence, the board is in the process of working with local stores in getting gift certificates. We've done this in the past. Regrettably, there's preparing for the annual meeting and some other things going on that have not made it happen as quickly as we want. But that's the process that we're following now. And also, I think that, we are looking for suggestions. There's an internal conversation on the board about what is the best way. There was discussion about what is, we would almost like to hear, I think, from staff as to what they really feel would be meaningful to them from the board. I think that gift certificates are nice and it's great to help folks support local businesses and whatnot. But I think really we want to have a discussion about what is meaningful to you. What would you like to see as staff members that really shows you that we care? And so that's a great conversation to have offline, I think, moving forward, because whether pandemic or not, and event next year or not. I think that it's a great discussion to have. So I thank you for bringing that up.
Mhm. And the intent is to try to ensure that we touch as many people as possible and show our appreciation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions that anyone would like to pose now before we get into the member agenda item? So feel free to raise your hand or put a note in the chat or just wave. Okay, not hearing any. Gaia Kyle has shared an agenda item that he would like to present this evening. So Gaia, I'm going to turn it to you so you can introduce your item.
Yeah, let me start by introducing myself. I was a member of the board for 10 years, and more than once I saw or heard about board member, and not board, co-op members, member owners who were essentially exited from the store, told that they weren't allowed to come into the store for various reasons. Now, I think some of those reasons may have been very justifiable. You know, certainly the store needs to be able to keep a degree of order you know, and the staff needs to be able to make decisions to protect themselves and the other shoppers and to keep the place safe. Members, I think, also deserve some rights. I think that, you know, so what precipitates this for me is that a member who I know was accused of saying something in the store that he denies saying. Well, these kind of, you know, conflicts, who said, he said, she said, you know, it just seems to me that there needs to be some way of saying, you know, hey, you're a member, we can't just, you know, throw you out and that's the end of the story. Sure, in the moment, we may have to do that, but then there has to be some way of due process, some way of saying, was this a good decision? You know, and I think it's easy to just sort of make a decision and leave it go at that. But sometimes you have to reconsider things. Well, as I say, I think it's reasonable. A reasonable solution to this is for the board to set a policy to call for, you know, call for some due process to be set up. Another way to do it would be for us to get a new bylaw that would include some protection of member rights. Let me sort of pause there and ask if there are other members who would like to weigh in on this issue.
If anybody would like to speak, just take yourself off mute and share your thoughts.
Yeah, am I off mute?
Yes, is this Alan?
Yes.
Yeah, we can't
Yes,
see you, Alan, but we can hear you.
Okay, I thought I was, I can be a video too.
There, we see you now.
Yeah, thank you, all of you. I'm very concerned about this. I appreciate what Guy says, that in general, there should be a proper policy and some due process and some way of appeal and so on. But when a member is in the co-op and leaves and is presented by the Ann Arbor Police Department with a trespass order that if they return to the co-op, they will be arrested. And there is actually no sense of appeal, and there is an arbitrary judgment by the general manager that this is a proper penalty no discussion as to what was the actual facts of the matter, and it is not appealable, and that the accusation against the member is highly demeaning, when the city council just had a discussion that somebody posted in an email an offensive quote with an F word, and that person is stripped of their responsibilities. I think that was a dumb thing to do. But when a person is insulted and not treated with respect as a member, that is very disturbing to me. And I raised that as a problem, and I said, until this is resolved, I'm not going to shop. And so the co-op has lost when Jamie said we need sales. You've lost $3,000 of sales in the last 8 months, because until this is resolved, I won't shop there. And you're not getting member support that you want. And it's insulting to my friend, and it's insulting to me. And when I write to the general manager and get no response, and I write to the board and I say, well, this isn't a matter for the board. Somehow it is a matter that an individual has been insulted humanly and not correctly, and there is no appeal. And this is an owner of the co-op, as am I. And you don't care that you're not getting our family revenue. The general manager doesn't even say, well, let's work this out in some way. No response. This is dereliction of duty for the general manager and lack of oversight of the board on how the general manager should deal with members and with members who complain about how members are dealt with. So that's what I want to say.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
I don't want to interrupt anyone. Is there a number? I have some feedback and also some things to add to this.
Linda Diane has a hand raised.
Okay, Linda.
Just a little bit of history. I believe that it was about 1984 when Bill Van Door was the first manager to call the police on a member who had come to the office that we had on Liberty Street there, asking to look at some financial information. And he was escorted out of the building by the police at that point. And I actually dropped my membership for a year or two at that point, because I just didn't think that that was a kind way to be treating our members. And I'll also note that on the other side of things, myself in particular, but other board members were attacked with yelling, screaming, and threats of physical violence during the boycott question, or whether we were going to boycott Israeli goods, and sometimes felt unsafe in the store, as well as there was a little bit of that type of intimidation, not quite as much, when some members discovered that we were selling GMO sugar. So things can get very heated around the issue of food. And I don't have a particular opinion one way or another on this, except that it would be really weird to have it in a bylaw, unless it was a larger issue. Board policy seems like a place to approach it, and I would encourage examination of how other stores handle it, as well as other co-ops around the country, because it certainly is not unique to PFC. That's it.
Hey, let me, thank you, Linda Diane. There's 3 things I want to mention about this. So when this happened, the board deferred to the general manager. We support our general manager. And the general manager is in the process of working through the particular issue. And recently I was asked to get involved because I have some contacts in that process. Regrettably, I haven't been able to do that the past couple days. I'm in the process of changing jobs and leaving my job of 17 years. My last day is Friday. So I've been very, very busy, but there is a process that has been unfolding in terms of this particular incident. Regrettably, we cannot divulge details because it involves an employee. The general manager has spoken with Mr. Parks on multiple occasions. Alan, I have emailed you back saying that there is a process that's happening, and I say that with all honesty and forthrightness and transparency. We can't give you the details because it's a private matter with employees, but there is a process happening, and I appreciate your patience. To the larger thing, I did reach out and have been reaching out to other co-ops, finding out what boards do, and I've been gathering that information. And Gaia, the board is going to actually have a discussion. The board has decided that regardless of any individual board member's perspective on the particular incident, it will be important to have a policy for members to have a grievance process, basically, with the board, so that when we get approached with these types of situations, we actually have some guidance and policy to do that. So we will be having discussions about such a policy. The board would like to extend an invitation to you, Gaia, because you are so familiar with policy governance, to join us in those conversations and provide some input. The other thing that I would say is that in our bylaws, there is bylaw 6.6, which is dispute resolution body. The board may establish a neutral dispute resolution body to attempt to settle disputes between the co-op and any of its members. And I would say that these types of situations, I think are a good fit for disputes resolution. And there actually is an organization that provides dispute resolution services here in our community. There are actually multiple. And so that is an option to actually provide some dispute resolution between the parties in this situation. The last thing that I would finish with is board members all have their particular perspectives individually, but we speak with one voice and try to deal with things in one voice. And so there are times when someone may have a particular opinion, but because we are a body that works together cooperatively, we try not to force our individual opinion as a board member on others or speak for the board with those individual opinions. So I do appreciate everyone's patience with this, the people who have reached out, staff members who have voiced their thoughts, board members, everyone. The board recognizes that a policy needs to be put in place. We're going to do that, and we want to work with the community on developing that process. Thank you.
Well, I just like to say that should have been done in September when this thing first came up and you call the cops on somebody. And this, when I hear about a process, I heard that about at the board meeting when we brought this up. And maybe I'm just as a member not privy to the process, but I haven't heard anything about it, and I don't think anything has changed. A proper process would be this meeting would just say, well, this is 6 to 8 months, whatever it is enough, lift the ban, let the person come back into the co-op, stop supporting this authoritarian judgment of the general manager, you know, whose ego or something must be involved in this. Why does she keep doing this? Anyhow, lifts the ban and let this settle back down. Yeah, get a dispute resolution process as part of the co-op policy. It's just normal in a co-op. All the
Alan, one thing that I would ask you is to refrain from casting any intent or aspersions on other people here, anyone's intention or anything about their personality or anything like that. I think that we can have a fruitful discussion without attributing anything to anyone in this conversation. Yeah. And we also want to make sure other people have a chance to speak too, Alan.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I'm sorry if I overspoke, but the way it seemed on the receiving end is how I expressed it.
Can I get in on this?
Yeah, what a good idea.
I want to, just 1 second. I just want to acknowledge we had 2 people with comments coming in through the chat. They were more comments than questions, but if either Mel or Susan wants to raise those, I would ask you to please speak up, and then Ken, we will get to you.
and the fact that they didn't respond even to us who are members of the board.
Okay, I think I'm muted.
So I don't, Mel or Susan, feel free to speak up. And if not, we'll move on to Ken. I think you had a question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can't see you, but we can hear you.
Yeah, well, I'm 78 years old playing around on this digital wonderland here. But if you can hear me, I'll just speak. Okay, so my name is Ken Parks. I remember when the Wildflower Bakery was next door to the co-op. Back in the day when I was famous for my annual co-op ethics speech, and we're talking about co-op ethics now. And I became somewhat famous, and Guy even came to speak to me. He says, that's really good what you were saying, you know. We established some rapport because in the days when we got a bonus, and I said, it's really important that we honor the co-op ethic, understand where this co-op came from, the movements, the freedom movements, the peace and justice, working class movements of the 1960s and 1970s. And it's really important to honor that and to extend the co-op ethic. And I proposed decades ago that we extend the co-op ethic into housing and healthcare and make that one of the benefits for working at the co-op. And I offered to give up my bonus for that. So I've been with co-op ethics stuff for decades, many decades. And I've had increasing concerns about the commodification of the co-op and going more towards the high-end stuff and less towards what I would call consumer friendly, and ended up with a increasing chain of command outlook on the relations of member owners, workers. When you say staff, I'm not sure who you're talking about. I think when you say staff, you're meaning workers and administration. Now, I promoted that the workers get a union, and I talked to some of them about it, and I hear kind of feedback, well, yeah, we got one, but they don't listen. And I'm going to say, well, if you talk to each other first and then go to administration together, maybe they would listen. Try that, you know. So I've always encouraged communication. And I've had some frustrations with trying to communicate with people, and I've made mistakes of my own. But the thing of which I was accused, Guy and I tried to reconstruct what happened. And I know I said this in a conversation with Ray, and I remember Ray's name because that's my grandfather's name, and he was a new worker. And we were having a conversation about SARS-CoV-2 and about immune systems and about solidarity. And I've been in numbers of Black Lives Matter movements, demonstrations, Black Lives Matter. And I said, I've even been called a dirty old white man. And I said, DOWM, because I've felt that sometimes. He's a dirty old white man. Really, it means poor old white man. I'm a low income person. I'm a worker. But I've been trying to work on the co-op. So I'm going to offer my help to you now. Let's respect each other and work with things in-house before we take it out to the legal and judicial system, because it's a very, I mean, I've been on picket lines and been beat up by the police. So when I'm walking out of the co-op and I have police coming towards me, I have to go into meditation right now. Why are they coming to me? Because I've been ID'd by the Ann Arbor police because I'm out of Detroit. And they saw my Detroit ID. You're from Detroit. What are you doing in Ann Arbor? And it was like, I was on the spot. If I buck them at all, they're going to take me down for resisting something, not respecting an officer. I have to go into meditation when the police are approaching me. I got cracked ribs from the police.
So Ken, thank you for sharing your thoughts. I'm trying
to see
if you have a question. If you have a question here, you are hoping to have addressed.
I have a proposal that we deal with stuff in-house before we go to the police.
Okay. Okay, I think, and I think what Jamie was sharing before, and I understand your comments on that, Alan, that you had hoped it would have been in place in September, but I think the commitment is that we will look at a members' rights process. And what that actually will entail is to be determined. But I think we have made a commitment that we will look at that. Jamie, anything you would want to add or correct in that?
No, that's accurate. And again, just there's the bigger picture in terms of the member process. And then the particular incident, again, we are also trying to find a way to resolve that as well. So
I've been trying to find a way to resolve it. The co-op has not.
the co-op has, I think it's, so I am now involved in the situation. And I give you my word that there is process unfolding. Okay.
Jamie, is there a time frame for that process?
There is not, because I have to be, there is not, because there's a third party involved that we have to get information from, basically. So I would say it will be unfolding ideally within weeks, the next couple of weeks.
I think it's important to recognize we have talked about members' rights, but we have talked about the rights of the general manager and protecting the staff. So this is a larger issue here.
I think everyone agrees that the general manager and staff deserve a safe workplace. And having been on the board for 10 years, I have a real good sense of, and I worked hard to create essentially a workers' rights end statement and other such things. But I also know from that experience, when you're on the board, you have two sets of interests. You want to be a good employer, yes, and that's important, but you also have a duty to be a good representative. And sometimes the pull between those two interests is challenging. And I'm glad to hear that the board is taking up seriously the being a good representative. When I see in the chat someone saying these individuals have demonstrated that they are not able to treat staff with kindness and respect, I don't know what these individuals mean. Certainly there are some people who probably exhibit those characteristics, but as we talk about the specific case at hand, that is anything but the case. Whether people are able to receive kindness from this person as it comes out is another question, but Ken is a man of incredible kindness and respect. So I just have to correct that, what I think of as an accusation.
Okay, so let me step in here for 1 second to say that would all of the people involved in this conversation please refrain from any types of aspersions or claims about the actions of other people. Anything that, these are all hypotheticals and people trying to interpret. And so if you look at nonviolent communication, one of the things that's taught in that is to not try to portray what you think the other person is thinking or what their intention was. It's best to just say what our needs are as individuals, right? And we've heard the needs from staff members. We've heard the needs from our members who want to participate in the co-op. And we've heard the needs of our general manager, and you've heard the needs of the board. So now what I'd like to do is to be able to go forward and do the best we can. Guy of the board will be reaching out to you as soon as we start those discussions. My sense is that those discussions will start after the May meeting, so probably in June, because we do have a board member or a potential board member who may be joining. And so once the usual process, and you're familiar with it, of everyone sort of getting seated and situated happens, we would like you to come and join those conversations. We would like other members, if you want, you can email us. You can also show up during the public comment of board meetings. But again, I want this to be forward thinking. And so as I lead board meetings, that's where it's going to be going, is how do we move forward, right? And avoid casting aspersions on other members of the co-op, because even if someone is not allowed on the physical premises, they are still a member, and Ken is still a member. And so we have to speak respectfully to everyone involved. And because this was brought up at the annual meeting, I will take it upon myself to reference this in further communications that the board makes in terms of our newsletters and whatever. And I will let folks know where this process is as it unfolds. And folks should feel free to email me if it's like between newsletters or anything, or you can't make it to a board meeting, and I'll let you know where the process is so that folks know that we are remaining engaged and committed to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Any other questions coming in from the chat or elsewhere that people would like to address tonight? And what we're seeing in the chat coming up, and I don't know if people want to speak to it, but it definitely interests. Sorry, Alan, one moment. I think what we're seeing I know what we're seeing in the chat is some comments from our staff members about being interested in being a part of whatever due process would look like.
Bo would actually also like to speak.
Okay.
And then Rebecca has a hand up.
Perfect. Please go ahead, Bo.
And I would like to speak after that.
Yeah, okay. Well, we've got you, Odile. Please go ahead, Bo. You're on mute.
Hopefully I'm unmuted now.
Perfect.
You guys can hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. I literally just got this computer today, so I want to make sure it's working well. I don't think we're probably allowed to discuss the specifics of the instance that led to this discussion. And I certainly will not cast any intent on anyone's behalf. Also, I'm sorry, I'm super socially anxious and I haven't ever done anything Zoomy before, and I failed to introduce myself. A lot of you probably know me. I've been a floor manager at the co-op for 7+ years now, and I've had direct interactions with all of the people involved. And, you know, how people are to some people is not how people are to all people. And I've heard some incorrect recollections of what happened. But at any rate, I would just like everyone to be committed to supporting us in our positions and trust that I know Angie doesn't make any of these moves lightly. Literally none of us at the co-op enjoy calling the police. Most of us ourselves have anxiety about the police, and they're only called when they pretty much must be. And again, I don't want to speak to any of the specific instances from this individual. And again, I'm not casting any intent. But what happened was a racial slur was said definitively. And I think we need to, you know, whatever we do going forward, I just think we need to make sure we keep that in mind for this particular individual. And, you know, if we do come up with a process for future instances, it just has to be addressed and honestly, I guess, is my main concern.
Thank you.
I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening. Again, sorry for my jitteriness. I'm just anxious, so that's why I don't normally publicly speak, despite how obnoxious and loud I am.
Thank you for sharing, Bo. We appreciate it. And I think we had two others, Rebecca and Odile, and then we want to, you know, see if there are any other things outside of this incident that people would like to discuss in this meeting that relate to the agenda and the co-op, et cetera. So I think our next person was either, I'm sorry if I got the order wrong. I've got
Rebecca next.
And Odile.
Well, actually, my comment wasn't on this subject. It was on something else. So I will let Odile go first and anyone else, and then give my comment.
Great.
Question.
Please go ahead, Odile.
Yes, hello to everyone. I'm sorry, I was on another Zoom meeting, so I couldn't attend. But I wanted to say that I have been a member of the co-op for 25 years. And when I learned what happened to my friend Ken, I was very shocked because I have been a long-time friend, at least 10 years with him, and I never, ever heard him do a racial slur. So I had a hard time believing that it could have happened. And Ken is a Buddhist. He helps some Cuban family, even so he has very little for himself. He's always willing to share with those Black family in Cuba. And so I am very admirative of him. And I have let him take care of my house when I go to France in the summer. And I never had any problem with him. He's been very kind to the neighbor and to the cat. And nobody in the whole West Side seems to mind him. He's a very meditative type of person. So, and what shocked me the most after that is when I objected to what happened, I was told nothing. I haven't been told no letter, no nothing. And I had to go to speak to other people to get some kind of an idea. And so I feel that as a member of 25 plus years, I should have been given the politeness and the respect of being sent a letter to explain to me the situation. So since that happened and you have not responded to me, I've taken my business to the Arbor Farm, which is very kind. The staff is very kind. I have no problem there. And I really think that there is kind of a bad spirit in the co-op right now. And we really, as activists and as peace and justice person, we need to restore a better feeling of a movement of respect for activists and of being more human towards each other. Thank you very much.
So I would like to, Odile, just say that maybe if you check your spam mail folder, you might find messages from us. I did email you shortly after you emailed in February. And the board also sent an email to both you and Alan a couple of weeks ago, outlining that. So we have tried, and I have had multiple emails back and forth with Alan up until actually just before this meeting when he's emailed me. So
see your email. I did see your email, thank you. But your email came in February and this happened in September. And I had nothing from September to February. It's a long time.
I responded to you then as well that there was a process and the general manager. So I don't want to get into a back and forth about like who did what, but I assure you that I did communicate to you. I've known Alan for many years. I don't know you as well, but I promise you that I did attempt to communicate with you. I'm sorry if you didn't see that. Next time I will ask for a response to know that you've received my messages. Okay.
Yes.
And that way we can verify. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you, Odile. And now we're going to move to Rebecca. You had a question, I think, on a topic.
Well, I'm revisiting the topic of board members. I actually, when Bo was saying about introducing himself, I didn't introduce myself. I've been a co-op member since 1982, and I was a two-term board member, including president of the board for a couple of years. So of course I'm concerned about the board. What I don't understand is I heard, Ray, in your report that there were only 2 people who expressed interest and there were, I guess, 3 openings. And then now there's someone who's interested that the board's going to appoint. Why didn't we at least have the members vote on the 2 members who were interested? Because at one point I was at an annual meeting and I realized that half the board members were not elected by the member owners, that they were appointed by the board. And that's concerning to me.
I'll answer that since it was addressed to me. The current process, one of the candidates that applied has expressed very strong interest in the co-op, and we are looking to the possibility of an appointment. Terms of the election, I was going by a charter that was in place, that was established by the former vice president, which the charter asked for a minimum of +1 for the board opening seats to run the election. I communicated with the rest of the board on that matter, and that was the agreement from the rest of the board that we didn't have enough candidates. That
If
was
I
the
could-
process.
If I could interject, it should be pointed out that the other candidate was myself, just for my reelection. So it actually was just one person actually stepping forward. So it wouldn't have been new people. And there's a large, I don't want to interpret too much into why the charter was written that way previously, but my sense is because at the time, elections, and they still are in terms of staff time and board time, can be time consuming. And to have one where as long as someone gets a vote, then they get elected, there's some problems with that, with putting a lot of effort into that when you don't even have enough candidates to fill the open seats. We could revisit that, but those I think are the complications of having an election if you don't even have enough board members or board candidates, I'm sorry, to fill the seats.
And just to reiterate further, last year we had an election, we had 3 open seats and we had 3 candidates. I received criticism for that. What is that, an election? That was a criticism that I got personally from other members. So, yeah, I'll stop there.
Okay. Great. I see Anne, you have made a comment. I don't know if you want to share it or just leave it in the chat. I'll give you a moment if you'd like to speak up. Okay. People can read the comment then. Let's see. Bo, would you like to share your thought? Or no?
So that was just an offhand thought. I thought for the future that might sort of not address the whole problem, of course, but I think as we look to relocating the store to, like I said, a more customer hospitable environment, a place that works for us a little bit better. We're of course doing our best with the space that we have, but I think that once we get more profitable and draw more customers in, potentially new customers especially, who may be interested in co-ops and passionate about co-ops, maybe that would help drive appeal to be part of the board too. And this is purely just me questioning, so it's not me trying to up it or anything. But is it always a hard limit of 1 staff member to the board? Again, this is me just coming in completely, mostly new to all this.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Okay.
Those are my only 2 light comments. Sorry, guys.
Great. Thank you, Bo. Anybody else have any final closing question before I know the meeting agenda said at 6:30 to 9:30. The agenda closed out about 8:15, so I want to be respectful of the time, but I can see where people would see it's both ways.
Alan and Linda both have their hands up.
Okay. Great.
Well, yeah, I'm glad to shift the topic. Yeah, this business with Ken and all that has been really a distraction from what I'm really interested in, and I think it is supportive for the co-op. We've been involved in developing the center of the city as a community commons, and is developing, extending in the city the notion of community commons and common good and a cooperative movement. And I would like to find ways where the co-op begins to see itself and the food system in general connected with the development of the community commons, both as an outdoor space and as a civic center and a focal point of information in the community. And I think that is a potential for development that would be very beneficial for the co-op, so a lot of people are involved anyhow. So I just want to put onto the mind of the co-op members here that the community commons, we had Earth Days there from Thursday through Sunday, a soft opening, so it wasn't a big activity, but people came by. And the sense of developing a community commons and the relation with the co-op movements, it should be very strong. And the commons is developing all over the world. And I think the co-op will strengthen itself when it sees and more accelerates or expresses itself as part of the common movement that is all over the world. And I just wanted to put that in as the positive side of my hopeful renewed relation with the co-op, but I wish this process with Ken would just get settled and be let back in the store. Anyhow, thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Thanks for sharing that comment. And then I think our last question is from Linda Diane.
Yeah, quick comment that the last member survey that I was aware of, the membership overwhelmingly said, open a second store, but don't you dare close this one. And so offline, I'm just wondering what has changed, or if a membership survey has been done. That was a randomized controlled, it was a randomized sample survey, which used to be in the charter for the linkage committee, was taken out. But my question actually is, I've been out of it. I haven't shopped with the co-op hardly at all for the last year. Having had COVID, and it took over 5 months to recover before I could think straight again. I've just been out of it, but I don't even know what happened with the Ken King Award and why we're not celebrating that tonight.
So I can answer both of those. Sure, I can answer both of those. So there is a shopper survey that's going to happen, and there will also be probably a smaller member survey as part of this plan. And so look forward to that. All of our members should look forward to that. And the shopper survey is, of course, to get a sense of what the shoppers want, because there are people who maybe aren't members but are regular shoppers. We see that a lot. In terms of the Ken King Award, this year we stepped away from it because we are reformulating that. The sense was in discussions with the family and with board members and other folks in the community that now the award had sort of a larger canvas or a larger spectrum of ways in which we could recognize people, as it had kind of drifted a little bit from its original inception. And so we are forming a new committee. If anyone is interested in joining that, this will be a committee that involves community members as well as board members. And so the award is going to be reformulated as a new type of award to people, to a person or people in the community who again are demonstrating those values. And I referenced that a little bit when I was talking earlier about that, about trying to recognize people in the community who are representing cooperative values and demonstrating those in work that they do. So again, look forward to that new committee, and we would love to have people involved.
So I'd like to hear more about that. Definitely contact me. And I'd also recommend that you look at the prior surveys, because if you match them up, then you can note change over time.
We are doing that. Yep,
You could-
for sure. Yeah.
Okay,
And this one will be with University of Wisconsin, as we have in the past, et cetera. So,
okay, that's not the survey I'm talking about, but membership
well, for
survey.
the survey, for the shopper survey, it will be.
Yeah, that's
So it'll
not,
be right. The membership survey will be different. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to answer your question, about the Ken King Award, we were contacted by the family that they were seeing that they weren't really knowing the recipients going forward and wanted to bow out of the process.
right. But as somebody who was involved in the process from the beginning, I'm quite interested in what happens, and I hadn't heard a word about this. So let me know.
Okay, I think that concludes our Q&A portion of the meeting. And I don't know, Ray, as the linkage chair, if you want to say a closing remark?
Thank you, Mary. I'm so thrilled to see so many members here tonight. This is amazing and very restorative to what a co-op is and how we act as a co-op to see our community come together tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And we appreciate the interaction that happened. I have recorded the meeting tonight, and I will make that available to members who were unable to come tonight. They just need to contact me, Vice President at peoplesfood.coop. I'd be happy to send that out. I'll probably link it on my YouTube channel. We have been talking at the co-op in the board about establishing our own YouTube channels. So that may happen. We'll see. But thank you again, everybody, and have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thank you.